Hello and welcome to Barely Tactical. I'm Sean, and today we have our first Lord Focus video, taking an early look at Throt the Unclean. Now, a disclaimer, I was given this key by Creative Assembly, which I'm massively grateful for. And another disclaimer, again, I'm no lore expert, I'm no Total War expert, I could get things wrong. If there's something you think I should know about Throt, or something that might work nicely with him, please do feel free to let me know in the comments. With that being said, we're just going to crack on and have a look at the Unclean Boy himself. Throt the Unclean is one of the most twisted and ingenious master mutators of Clan Moulder, and he has exploited that success to position himself as one of the 9 Lords of Hellpit. Being a master mutator, he carried out experiments not only on anyone unlucky enough to land in his dungeons, but also to himself, increasing his size and strength, jamming warpstone into his body. This was not without problems. Now Throt suffers from a black hunger so bad he must consume 4 times his own body weight in food. So what is Throt like? Well, he comes with a suitable climate of frozen. He has access to the Clan Moulder Flesh Lab, hit points of plus 10 for all characters, immune to mountain attrition, construction cost of minus 50% for breeding stock, pits of the Packmasters, force feeding chambers, and laboratory buildings, an upkeep of minus 20% for wolf rats, rat ogres, mutant rat ogre, brood horror, and hell pit abomination units in his army. He has the passive ability of regeneration, and an armor plus 10 for wolf rat, rat ogres, mutant rat ogre, brood horror, and hell pit abomination units in his army as well. So we can see straight away off the bat that he is going to be incredibly focused on monsters, as you would expect for Clan Moulder, making the most of boosting up big units which will rip enemies apart. I think this is going to give a very interesting take to the Skaven front line, because now you can actually replace them with hulking rat ogres instead of using clan rats and Skaven slaves. Because let's face it, it's going to be a hell of a lot more fun watching them pummel into the front line than some Skaven slaves cowardly throwing themselves onto a spear. So the campaigns for Throt, and the first one is the Vortex Campaign. You have the main objective of stopping Ariel from completing a magical ritual, in which you have 50 turns to do so, otherwise it will trigger the final battle. And if you lose the final battle, that's it, it's game over. You can increase how long you have to stop her, however, by completing the missions at the top of the screen, which also give you a nice little injection of gold each time, so you get the extra handy incentive. Not much else has changed for the Vortex Campaign. The buildings are pretty much the same, and your economy will be managed almost identically, except for the new addition of the Packmasters. You're pretty much going to play them like a normal Skaven campaign. I will do a first 30 turns of the Vortex Campaign, as well as a first 30 turns to the Mortal Empires campaign, so we can have a more in-depth look of the do's and don'ts of what you should be doing. What you're seeing right now is the Mortal Empires campaign. It's a standard Skaven Mortal Empires campaign, except you start in Hell Pit, right up in the north of the map, in the nice icy mountains. Now, the only issue with this is you are right next to where the Chaos incursions will happen, so you could end up having a bit of a struggle with that, although it will give you a good learning experience of how to boost your forces up before they arrive and deal with multiple enemies at once, so that's always a bonus, I suppose. The Flesh Laboratory and the Growth Vat. These are 2 mechanics unique to Clan Moulder, so you will only be able to access this playing as Throt. Now, the Growth Vat is a pool of growth juices that once you reach a certain amount, you can claim a unit to be instantly recruited into your army. The longer that you leave the vat to fill up, the better the rewards. You can end up, once you hit the maximum level, receiving about 4 or 5 different monster units that will be incredibly useful to instantly stack into your army. Now, the second bit is the Flesh Laboratory itself. This allows you to augment your infantry and your monster units, giving them different buffs and also debuffs at the same time. Now, this is something that can be incredibly useful, allowing you to transform rat ogres into something more sinister and able to deal out a lot more damage. But of course, there is a big downside to it. They can gain instability, which the more you augment a monster, the higher the chance is that they will become more and more unstable. They will then attack themselves during battle, inflicting damage until they reach a certain percentage of health. Depending on your level of instability, they can literally just kill themselves in the battle. So that's something that you will need to balance out carefully. The last section is the laboratory itself, which allows you to purchase different buffs for lords or for units throughout your army. And this is quite interesting because it's tied to the growth vat itself. So generally you will only unlock certain areas of it once you've obtained, or claimed, should I say, enough rewards from the growth vat. It also has quite a hefty gold cost, so you're not going to be able to do it too frequently. You'll have to try and balance it out for when you really need it the most. So what is Throt's force's main focus? Well, monsters, and lots of them. Throt himself gives quite a good buff to monster units and makes them significantly stronger than they already were, and gives them a bit more survivability. Not tons, but rat ogres shouldn't need as much micromanaging as they did before. Also, Packmasters, the legendary hero that's been introduced, also adds that effect. You have Gorich, the abomination of a rat ogre with the Chaos Warrior's mind in its body, or something along those lines from what I believe, is also incredibly powerful. You get no penalty on using weapons teams and those kind of units, so you will be able to probably stack out at least Throt's army with monster units as an infantry line, and then having a ton of ranged units to absolutely shred things apart, which will be absolutely beautiful to see. So that pretty much wraps it up. The addition of Throt definitely gives something new to the Skaven, obviously, but also the fact that you now have a monster-focused faction, which makes monsters a lot more viable and a lot more useful than they were previously, gives the Skaven another dimension to their playthroughs, which is really nice. Again, big thank you to Creative Assembly for chucking this key in my direction. I am massively, massively grateful. And if you guys have enjoyed it, please do feel free to leave a like or a comment or subscribe or whatever, or check out my other content over on Twitter and Twitch and those sort of things. There will be Let's Plays going on of the new content before release, happening over on Twitch. So if you do want to see more of it, like more Wood Elves and that kind of thing, go and have a look. That's all I can recommend. For now, I'm going to bugger off. Goodbye, you glorious gits.